Welcome everybody, welcome, my dear family. Let's start today with the exploration. We will continue contemplating the teachings that the Buddha left regarding matter. What is it? How is it connected to consciousness? How does it behave? What are its elements? And what is the use for us to know about it in order to develop understanding and ultimately detachment?
So let's start by paying respect.
Okay, let's remember all our teachers, starting with our parents and all the people who has taught us something in this life. May they be well physically and mentally, and if they are not present anymore, may their path continue with the best conditions possible. Together we go. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagava araham sama sambuddho vichacharana sampanno sukato lokavidum anutaro purisa dhamma sarati satta deva manusanam buddho bhagavati. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Homage to the sublime, to the victorious, to the totally self-enlightened one.
Okay, so
welcome
yes,
everybody.
welcome everybody. So today we are going to continue with metta, and today we are going to focus on dependent metta. And let's see. Okay, so last week we have started the chapter on metta, or sometimes we may also call it material properties, and in Pali, rupa. And we have seen that there are 28 kinds of material properties named by the Buddha in the Abhidhamma, and 4 of them are called the Mahabhuta, which are the great essentials or element matters. So earth,
elementary matters,
water,
yes.
fire, and air, and they are the basis of all material properties.
Remembering that is the qualities of these elements, not the element itself, but indeed these elements, as we know them, the 4 elements, are the ones who exemplify their characteristics the best.
Mm-hmm. And then, so 4 of these 28 are the primary elements, and the other 24 are called dependent matters. So the dependent matters depend on these 4 primary elements to arise. So all kinds of material properties are supported by earth element, and they are held together by a water element, and they are maintained by the fire element, and the movement, they are distended by air element. So these earth, water, fire, air, Patavi, Abo, Tejo, and Vayo, as Bante just said already, they are not earth, water, fire, air itself, but the quality of earth, water, fire, and air itself. Okay.
Hardness, softness on the earth, matter, like what we call matter generally, the cohesion of it, or the bonds, the thing that makes the matter bond, and then the heat that maintains it to stay longer or to decompose with the pass of time, and the movement that is happens in it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So now, after looking at the 4 elements, then we have seen also last week an introduction to 2 other groups of other rupas. The first one is called the Upādā Rūpa, which are the sensitive matters, eye sensitivity, ear sensitivity, nose sensitivity, tongue sensitivity, and body sensitivity.
We can think of it as the matter that can recognize matter. Is the part, the sensitive part of the body that we carry
That are sensitive to.
That is able to sense all the qualities of matter, be it light, form, shape, sound, vibration, particles in smell or taste, or tangible, touch, tangible, all the nervous terminations that the body has in order to be able to bring information to consciousness, to know what is happening in the external world. In short, the doors of our experience are made out of matter that receive matter itself.
Yes, and then the second group is called the Bhāva-rupa, which are actually the sense objects. So we have did a brief introduction to these two groups last time, and then we have seen a little bit more in details about eye sensitivity and its object, which is rupa, also called rupa, but sometimes called vana, which is color or form. So today we will start from the other pair, which is ear sensitivity and sound. And then so we'll go pair by pair and then a little bit more details. Okay? Yes.
This is the matter that is perceived by the sensitive matter of our body. Matter touching matter before it becomes consciousness, before the mind knows it.
So about the ear, Sota pasada, ear sensitivity, in the same way that it is as the eye, it is not as eye sensitivity is not the whole eyeball, as we saw last week. Ear sensitivity, Sota pasada, is also not the whole ear. So in the scriptures, it is said that it is found, this sensitive matter is found inside the ear in a part where it looks like a ring, and it is surrounded by hairs. So in the scriptures, it is said like that. So suppose it is somewhere maybe around in these places, according to biology. And so this ear sensitivity are some kind of material properties that are located somewhere around here.
Yes. As we know, this chamber inside the inner ear, it's filled out with liquid. So the vibrations comes to the ear, then the drum and everything, and the hammer makes the movement, and then that brings the vibration to the liquid, which actually sound travels faster in liquid than in air. And then these little hairs are the ones that can perceive the vibration or the frequency that is being moved. And in the root of these little hairs, as the Buddha amazingly described, without having microscopes or anything, describe these little hairs. They convert that movement and frequency onto electricity that ultimately arrives to the brain, and then consciousness, wherever you touch matter, you start understanding and giving meaning to it.
Yeah, so that's how science understands how we understand sound, and it is not different from how the Buddha explained. Mm-hmm. And so what happened is that when Jabanta just said already, actually, so when the ear sensitivity, it get in touch with an audible object. Can you hear?
No, nothing. Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, imagine.
Yeah, anyway, I don't know why the sound is not playing, but anyway, so suppose you're hearing a mosquito sound. So, and so this audible object, which is sound itself, get into contact with Sota pasada, ear sensitivity, with the help of space. It is moving, and so when it gets into contact, then ear consciousness arises. So when we studied about consciousness, then we have already seen this, but this time we are going to focus on the ear sensitivity and audible object.
Object and door gathering together is the birth of sound of consciousness. Object, physical object, and sensitive matter in our bodies come together, and that is the element that gives birth to consciousness. In this case, sota vijnana, ear consciousness.
Ear consciousness. Okay, so that's about the sota pasada and its pair, sound, audible object, which is sound itself. Sound is also a material property.
I would like to point out to something. Let's remember that we are looking at the interface, the bridge between the physical world and the consciousness world. Now we are looking more, we are in the middle, more looking into the physical side, matter side. How come we perceive the external impulses, be it in any form that it arises to the body, and the moment that it changes onto consciousness? We are now looking in the frontier of matter touching matter. And how the Buddha explained this for later giving meditation instructions. Let's keep the scope up, in perspective. All this the Buddha taught it because it is important to develop the right practice so we can eventually purify the mind.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so ear consciousness, or whatever kind of five sense consciousness that we are talking about, it depends not only, or it depends on the base. Then when we study chapter 3, we have seen the basis. So it depends on the base, which in this case is the ear sensitivity itself, and it also depends on an object. So when these two objects gets into contact, so these three things must be together in order for ear consciousness to arise. And so for the nose consciousness is the same. Now let's go back to metta instead of the consciousness first. Now Ghana Pasada, according to the Buddha's teaching, it is again not this whole physical nose, but it is some kind of material property situated inside the nose, some in a place where it looks like the hoof of a goat. So this in a place where it looks like a hoof of a goat.
What is
like
a hoof?
The feet.
Como una pata de cabra.
Mm-hmm. So, but
it looks like
this is how
the
descriptions in the scripture say.
Yeah.
But so I'm not sure which part looks.
That part looking on top like this. If you put la pata upside down.
Yeah. So where? Here.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somewhere situated somewhere that it looks like a hoof of a goat. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
from our senses, the one that is closest to the brain actually is the nose sensitivity. This is what that we are talking. That's why it feels so bad when we go swimming and then the water comes in, or and then it feels like pain in the brain, because actually water is directly kind of touching the sensitive smelling matter directed to the brain. That's why also the sensation with wasabi and all that. So it is really, really directly comes the information to the consciousness, and that's why it feels like that.
Yes, so in the same way, when nose sensitivity and smell its object, which is also a type of material property, get into contact, then nose consciousness arise. So here we have the two pairs, nose sensitivity and its object, which is smell, also a material property itself as well. Okay.
I want to point out to the miracle. I feel it as a miracle that inside, in so small area, we have a total chemistry and laboratory that can perceive, separate, and discern all the characteristics of particles just by smelling and just by tasting, as we are seeing. It is really breathtaking and worth having appreciation for the for the arrangement of nature, to be able to be so sophisticated to perceive. And all of this has been done because of consciousness in previous versions of our evolution, has been because there have been some benefit on it to know what we are dealing with. And generally, unfortunately, is based on survival, desire to continue alive, and hence the kind of tendencies that by instinct we all carry.
Okay, so let's move on to the next pair, which is Jiva-pasada, tongue sensitivity. And so tongue sensitivity, again, is not the whole tongue, and but this tongue sensitivity is said to be spread all over the tongue. And I found this photo and image of the taste bud. It's a scan of the taste buds, so it also shows that it's all over the tongue, as the Buddha said that the tongue sensitivity is spread everywhere. So then, in the same way, when the tongue, this tongue sensitivity, which is all over the tongue, meet with its object, which is taste in this case, and with the help of saliva, then taste consciousness arise. So this pair again is the pair. Now, very interesting about these pairs is another like marvel, or like another wonderful thing, is that each sense has its own object. Oh? Like the tongue cannot know color, and the smell cannot know sound or something. So each of them have their own pair, which is the respective object, and when they meet together, then consciousness arises. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is Kaya Pasada. Kaya Pasada, body sensitivity, is also said to be spread out all over the body, except
in two areas.
In the hair and in the nails and dry skin are the only place where there is no Kaya Pasada, no body sensitivity. Otherwise, all throughout the body, we can feel or we can touch.
We can try pinching our hair and there is no pain. We can try pinching our nail and there is no sensitivity. The only two parts or elements of the body who have no contact, no consciousness can arise there.
Mm-hmm. So it is all throughout the body. In the scriptures, the teachers, they give an example like a cotton ball. If you have a cotton ball and then you put water into it, so the whole cotton ball is suffused with water, and it is all throughout everywhere in the cotton ball. So in the same way, Kaya Pasada, body sensitivity, is like water in the cotton ball, so it's all everywhere. Okay, so that's the example. And so
noting that the sensors are all over the body, but they do relate to our awareness and consciousness. The more unconscious we are of ourselves, the more areas that we might feel like blind spots. For example, one very small area in the back, on top of under the neck, or something like this. There are areas in our body that more attention and more areas in the brain has been developed because the consciousness consider them, because of usage and because consciousness consider them to be essential for survival. Something the mind wants out of it. That's why our lips, our hands, especially, and the genital area they have a very big part of the brain is used by this sensory. The tongue is also sensory terminations. But another thing to add is that we can morph it, we can change it through mental practice. We can become more aware of our physical sensations or anywhere. And actually, the meditation practice, one of the side effects of it is that generally and with time, the meditator becomes much more sensitive to all of the senses. That's why a great degree of patience and resilience and kanti needs to be developed, because the more we practice, let's be sure about it, the more we practice, the more we will be able to feel either pleasure or pain, and we need to be more careful because of the reactions that will arise from the mind.
Actually, most probably that how it is felt before and after, or whenever, it's the same. Just how much we notice is it's more. So it's not that after you practice then your senses become sharper. It's not like that. I think it's just that because you notice a little bit more.
It's the mental development on it, the consciousness, how conscious we are of regarding sensory experience.
Yes, and so it's always changing, no? Like with time also, Sayadaw-ji, he also used to say with time, then the eyes is not looking clearly anymore, ear also can't hear, and so they also fade because they are karma, born matter also, no? So with time, then less and
even
less.
If the consciousness is very clear, but the material part of the physical door is worn out. Time did its job. So we are in this flux of combination between nature and our understanding of consciousness.
Yes. Okay, so let's go to the last pair, and we're going quite fast. Right. So Kaya Pasada, the body sensitivity, when it gets in touch with the tangible object, which we have already seen in the previous times. The tangible object is actually a combination of earth, fire, and air element.
It's
So
movement.
whatever can be touched.
Yeah. It's softness and hardness. It's temperature and it's movement. That in case there is.
Yes. So
that's what what the body can perceive actually. And same, I forgot to say, in taste, for example, actually there is also very few tastes available. Sweet, salty, sour, and I think there are 4 or 5 tastes. And with it, we make the whole drama of food, and the whole drama of our experiences is made out of very, very simple. In case of touch, actually, whenever we feel pleasure or unpleasure, we can just divide it in soft or hard. We generally tend to soft, movement or not, and the temperature. That's about it.
So usually what is more obvious to the touch is the earth element, which is the hardness and softness of the thing. And sometimes when the earth element in something is a little bit soft, then it could be a little bit harder to perceive. So let's say the touch of a bubble, it's not so noticeable as the touch of the door, let's say, because the earth element in the bubble is less, more subtle than that of the door.
Less prominent. It is present because definitely the bubble will be soft or hard. Again, we'll have some areas that will be harder than others, but it's very, very, it's present in a very slight.
Yes, so that's the variation. And now, so we have seen the first group, Upādā-Rūpa, and the second group, Gochara-Rūpa, which is a pair, eye sensitivity with sight, ear with sound, nose sensitivity, smell, tongue sensitivity with taste, body sensitivity with tangible object, which is a combination of the 3 elements. No? Now, this is the Pali words of each of these metta, what it is called. You don't have to remember, but I will just present to you. So later, if you come across these words, then you will know what it is about. Don't have to remember, but it is good to know them. So Upādā-Rūpa, sensitivity metta. So it will be eye sensitivity. So Chaku Pasada, Sota Pasada, Ganda Pasada, Jiva Pasada, and Kaya Pasada, Kaya the body. And then the respective objects are Rupa or Wana, which is color. Then Sada, that is easy to remember, no? Sota and Sada, they are a pair, no? Then Ghana and Ganda, smell is a pair. Then Jiva and the taste is Rasa. And Kaya Pasada, the tangible object is called Potava. Potava actually it's in terms of Pali grammar, it is a future participle of word of fas. It is connected with fasa, connected with touch.
Touch, something that we have contact with, fasa.
So it is changed in form from fasa. So it's something that should be touched.
Can be touched.
So
a characteristic of matter that can be perceived by the touch.
Yes. So
or the contact.
Yes. Okay. So now here another point that we have to remember is that in the second group, the sense object group, visible matter, sound, smell, and taste, Rupa, Sada, Ganda, and Rasa, they themselves, each of them is one of the 28 material property. So they are visible matter or matter. There is sound, there is smell, there is taste. But tangible object is not a separate material property in itself, but the combination of the 3 great elements. So there is no one kind of matter that is called tangible object. Instead, it is the combination of the 3 primary elements is what we call a tangible object. So it is not a matter in itself. Well, of course it is matter because it's a combination of the 3, no?
3 main ones.
But it is not a separated kind of matter.
So From this perspective, now we will try, we will see if it is clear this, but from this perspective, this is what we call matter generally. We refer to matter to something that it is tangible. We can touch this matter. In the same way, we can start understanding now under the microscope of matter why it is so, because it is formed by three of the main elements, the big characteristics, the big ones. And all the other ones, for example, form or sound, they are much more subtler. We cannot really touch them. The body perceives them. Definitely, something inside our ear is being touched by the frequencies and the wind, air waves that are coming in contact. But it is not as
but they are received
solid.
They are received by a different pasada, no, different sensitive matter. Sound is not received by the body sensitivity. Body sensitivity cannot receive sound. Although the ear, there is body sensitivity everywhere, but what receives sound is sota pasada, is the ear sensitivity. So the receptor and the object itself is different. No?
Yes. We may say that, for example, when we go to a rave or a party or something, that touch, 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 the body will feel the vibration, but actually what the body is feeling is the pressure of the waves, the hardness that because of the wind, the air was pushed in such a manner that then the pressure will come into the body, and the body will not be totally perceiving sound as a frequency, but as a pressure into the sensitive terminals. Yes,
Alex.
Don Alex.
Thank you, Charan and Bante. What about synesthesia? I don't know if that's the right way to express it in English, but it's the ability that some people have to perceive colors while they're hearing a sound. Like they see certain colors for certain pitches or frequencies in sound.
As far as we have researched before, because we have look onto it, apparently, for example, sometimes with autism, there is people that actually is like a miswiring of the brain. So actually with the sensory organ is arising, but it is bringing information. For example, there is people who can remember numbers very well because actually they see colors. As they are looking at numbers, they see colors. And as far as we have researched in the past, is something that is not something common on people, but it is considered actually as a not, cannot say malfunctioning, because often these qualities bring like a superpowers to the people. And there is people that whenever see movement, actually there is something inside connected to sound. And actually when movement is happening, they are hearing a sound on every step or something. And I dare to say that we must all of us must have some degree of miswiring in the brain. And I will say that's why the tendency for some people to have special sensitivity for music, special sensitivity for dance. I think in the arts, definitely most of the time, the senses are very often interchanged. For example, the work between a choreographer and a musician, often they are talking from very different perspectives in the same flow of movement. One hears the movement and the other one sees and feels it in the body. I will say that all of us have a tendency, and I don't know if that goes into, it is quite interesting, and there have been research on people who has this very clearly interchange and hear color or something like that. It does happen. Is that on the line, Don Alex?
Yes, I was wondering that because of the fact that you mentioned that there is no a way to perceive a sound or a sensitive matter with a different.
I would say it's the wiring inside, not the sense. The sense will get the information, but it's just bringing the visual vibration onto the sound perception of it.
Okay.
According how it works in the brain or in scientifically, I'm not very sure and I cannot say about it. But in terms of Abhidhamma, then each sensitivity can only receive its object. How I interpret it according to the little information, Abhidhamma information we know, would be if a person is hearing sound and he's seeing color, so that would be his ear sota pasada, ear sensitivity is getting sound.
Perceiving
It's getting sound,
definitely.
but the mind is seeing color. So that is mind object.
Yeah.
Because if there is really color in the sound, everybody should see it. So not only he should see it, because that is not perceivable. It's not perceived through the eye. So, but it's perceived through the mind. So his ear hear the sound, but his object that arises in his mind.
Later on.
It's mind object and consciousness and mind object, not that perceive. That is a pair, because mind can perceive all kinds of objects, but not present object. No, in this case, it's something that arises only in his mind, not something like
that makes sense, and that will explain why the people who has this ability usually don't see the same color among them. You know, like they see different colors and perceiving probably the same sound or pitch in music.
Actually, I have always wondered, are we really sure that we all call red, we see it in the same way? Like maybe the red we see, we will never be able to prove that thing. How do we say? The red I see maybe for other person is blue or pink. But then I call that, and everybody calls that color that. Then I decide to call, or we decide to call that. So it would be really incredible if we could exchange corneas and then see how people is perceiving. It would be amazing to see. Who knows if the sounds, and that can happen. That happens definitely with concepts. We hear something but interpret something different, and that can be expressed to others. That's why we understand or not. So I would like to have some experiment with senses.
According to that, I would say that the color of the thing itself does not change because of the person. The color is the color, but how we see it, it depends on how good the eye sensitivity of the person is. So that because
and the
of
perception,
and the perception, attention, and so sanya also can change it, and also the eye sensitivity. If a person has a better eye and a person has a weaker eye, then that will change. But I would say the color itself does not change.
Yeah, there are people who cannot see color. They are color blind. So the colors are there, but just the capacity is not there. And not to go far, my dear family, but just remember, we are just talking about raw perception. Imagine the prejudices and our mental reactions we have towards object. We are not getting onto it, but just imagine the what we are dealing with here. It's just we all see reality from a perspective that can be tainted by our physical abilities, and we try to express it and make it true for somebody else. This very easily then shows the madness that we live in if we try to convince others to see reality as we see it. By the way, there is a wonderful documentary that the BBC, I think, made. I will try to find it and send it. I saw it a few years ago, and in this documentary, the graphic department of the BBC, they and the psychiatrists and psychologists make interview with people who had this miswiring of the brain, which is checked with MRIs and everything. And they describe what they were experiencing, and the graphic department of the BBC tried to emulate it. So when sound was coming, I remember a lady saying that when she sees numbers, she was actually perceiving color and movement. That's why she could memorize. I will try to find it. Really wonderful. And it speaks about all of this. And in general, it is something related to the spectrum of autism. It has something to do, as far as I remember. Hopefully we find it, and it will be very informative. Yes. Okay, let's move on.
Yes, let's continue. Okay, so that's about the first two groups, Pasada Rupa and Gochara Rupa. Now let's go to the third group of dependent matters. So all these matters depend on the four primary elements to arise. So
I have one thing that we can get.
Okay.
So?
Yes, so later on, now we are only looking at the different types of matter. So remember, just like in chapter 2, when we are looking at the chetasikas, we are looking at them one by one, but they don't arise alone, no? Chetasikas, they always arise in a group with the chitta, no? So for matters, it's the same way. We are now only looking at them separately as the individual matter, but they never arise alone. Later on, we will see what combination they do and how they arise, just like in the mind. No?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you remember, my dear family, a few months ago, there was an example that in terms of perceiving, the body sensitivity was like a hammer hitting a piece of metal, and all the other senses were a piece of cotton falling, two pieces of cotton, falling, touching each other. So that will be for eye, sound, smell, and taste. That will be, the mind is so small. The amount of matter that is involved in that impingement, in that contact, that it is like touching two the mind perceives them or has very little information as two balls of cotton touching each other. In terms of the body, since there are three of the main Mahabhutas, the main elements are acting, the earth element, the fire, and the wind, it is really that's why the sense and the way it comes, the body experiences touch and matter in a much more strong and powerful way, really like a hammer hitting, in our consciousness feels the same. So I think it is clear, no, the point that it is these three.
Yeah, so since Bhante is talking about this, just a little reminder of what we have saw already previously. Just what Bhante was saying. Later on in this chapter, we will categorize these matters into subtle matter, gross matter, and so many different kinds of category. The Buddha explained, like, to separate them into different groups to understand them better. And then later on, you will see that visible object, sound, and smell and taste, they are all subtle object in a group of subtle object. And sensitive matter also, they are all in subtle object. So two subtle objects touching each other together, they are like so soft, like two cotton balls, like Bhante said. Therefore, when this eye consciousness, ear, nose, and tongue consciousness arises, they always arise with upekkha. Remember?
Yeah.
So there is always this eye, ear, nose, and tongue consciousness is always associated with upekkha feeling, no? Upekkha vedana.
Equanimity, kind of, not pleasure, not displeasure, because it's very soft.
But for body sensitivity, because it is so hard, like the three elements, and although body sensitivity is soft, but it's like the hammer hitting on the cotton, no? So it is hard. So it's always it can only associate it with either sukha or dukkha. Sukha or dukkha
directly, pleasure or pain directly, because of the power that is impinging into the body.
Yeah. So kaya vijnana is only when it is kusala vipaka, result of wholesomeness is always connected with sukha, sahagata, kaya, vijnana. No? So when it is an akusala vipaka, it's always dukkha, sahagata, kaya, vijnana.
Physical pain, physical displeasure.
So there is no upekkha feeling associated.
The body either feels pleasure or pain.
So this we have already seen previously, but it's good to revise.
The mental feeling. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Let's go.
Everybody okay until here? Everybody? Good. Okay.
So the third group of rupa that we are going to see is called Bhāva-rupa, gender matters. So we have Bhāva, masculinity, and Iti-bhava, femininity.
Naturally occurring in all species.
So this masculinity and femininity, just like kaya pasada, is said to be situated all over the body, like the cotton ball. So it's all over the body. So it is not what we see. So it is invisible to the eyes. This masculinity and femininity, that's a Bhāva and Iti-bhava, is not visible to the eyes. It is not the sexual organ.
It ultimately gives certain characteristics for a male being or a female being externally. But let's think about atoms. In the essence of matter, masculinity and femininity, in every kalapa, in every single atom that comprise our body. This, I mean, just in every single
but rupa that contains
rupa that contains, it is present, especially in our body. Hence, it gives the characteristics for female or external female.
Later on, we will see when we see the combinations of the rupas. Then we will see exactly which one goes with this kind of matter, which not. For example, very easily we can all understand. And sensitivity matter, Chakupasada, no? So it does not contain any masculinity or femininity because it is a different type of rupa. Yes.
Yeah.
So there are different types of rupas. Some rupas are with gender matters, and some are doesn't, like eye sensitivity and all this. Later on, we will see combination. Now,
some sensitivities have no gender. It's just there is no male eye or feminine eye. Eye is just an eye.
So masculinity or femininity, we can only understand it through the features. So it is not something that we can see, but we can see through its feature, but not the matter itself.
That's good.
Okay.
Good.
Yes. So if you see the hands, these two hands, can you tell which one is a man's hand and which one is a woman's hand?
Clearly, no?
Quite obvious.
Why?
Yes.
Why can we say this is a male hand and this is a female hand?
So because the structure is very different, and
beyond the hairs, you can see that the form of it, although it has the same elements, same amount of bones, same amount of tissue and muscles, but why? Why?
Yes. So that's because of this gender matter. That therefore the structure of how the person is different. So body structure, features. So since this matter is not visible to the eye, we can only understand this matter by means of the body characteristic, by means of its features, or how a woman or how a man walk. And or how they do things, and that behavior, that is a little bit different, no? Yes. So in those ways we can understand it, but this is a kind of matter that is not visible to the eyes. So the important thing is that it is all over the body, everywhere. It's not just a sexual organ. That is masculinity or femininity. Okay.
Everybody okay? Good.
Okay, so let's go ahead.
Wow.
The next matter that we are going to look at, the next group, is called Hadaya Watu, heart-based. So although we said it's a group, but actually this group has only one member. So like the gender group, it has 2 members, no? And the sensitivity group has 5 members, and like that. So Hadaya Watu, this group has only one member. Only heart-based. Okay, so again, like all the other physical matter, the physical heart itself is not Hadaya Watu, so it's not the whole physical heart, but some kind of matter which is to be found in dependence on the blood inside the heart, is how the teachers describe where it is. So it is some kind of material property that depends on the blood inside the heart. It's called Hadaya Watu.
And as it has quite recently been discovered, there are neurons in the heart. There are some parts of the heart who actually has the ability to sense direct information to whatever it is related to consciousness ultimately. So there are some more interesting findings. And as we know, in general, when they bring a base to the mind, to consciousness, it is Hadaya Watu. We're talking about this. So there might be some, and for some reason, the teachers in the past arrived to this conclusion, which, to note it, it is not totally, it's a consensus among all of them.
Yeah, so all Bhante just made a summary of what we are going to look at right now. So it's good and like introduction.
Yes, it's a menu, ladies and gentlemen, menu.
Yes, so as we have seen in chapter 3, when we talked about the basis of mind, so all kinds of chitta, they have a base. They have a physical base. So for eye consciousness, then we have the eye base, the ear consciousness, ear base, nose consciousness, nose base, tongue consciousness, tongue base, body consciousness, body base, and all other kinds of chittas are with heart base.
The mind
Now,
itself,
so
mental objects, or
not objects.
the mind, the mental functioning. How to say?
Mind consciousness.
Mind consciousness.
Mind consciousness, not
the object,
five sense consciousness.
Yes.
No? So these 6 bases serve as the physical support for chitta to arise. Now we will take, let's say, an eye-door mental process as an example. So in the eye-door mental process, as we have seen previously in previous chapters, so bhavanga, panchadora vajana, the 5-door averting consciousness, then starting from there, it starts the 5-door eye-door mental process, no?
The area that the mind is actually visually conscious.
So, Chakku Vijnana, eye consciousness arises, then receiving consciousness, investigating consciousness, determining consciousness, jhavana or reactions to it, Tadharvamana, and then Bhavanga again.
The aftertaste, so and the mind goes to neutral back.
Yes, so in this case, the base for this mental process, the only Chakku Vijnana, the base of Chakku Vijnana is Chakku Pasada. And all the others are based on Hadayavatu. Now, this graphic is to show which chitta take which kind of base. So just be aware that it is not exact in time, because later on, which chitta based on which heart Hadayavatu, which material property that arise in which time, and this will come later, because this graphic is not exact in that sense. It's just showing that which chitta has which base. Okay, I'll make it in an easier way. So a heart base is a kind of matter, no? So it arises and then it stays for 17 mind moments, yes? So it does not arise and pass away at the same time as the chitta. So in this graphic, you see that the bhavanga and heart base, bhavanga and heart base, bhavanga and heart base, no? So what I want to say is that this graphic only shows that bhavanga is based on heart base, but it does not mean that they always arise together in one, not like that.
One clue to arrive to this, you remember, my dear family, that matter lasts a little bit longer than mind. You remember that matter arises and stays for 17 moments like this, and mind is much faster. So this is what Charana is referring. Actually, it's not that it is arising and disappearing together, but it is having the same base, which, as we know, matter is much slower than mind. The movement of matter is way much slower than the movement of the mind, and stays also for longer. It goes 17 times slower. The body is going is changing 17 times slower than the changes of the mind.
Okay, so you got the point, no? You got that it is not arising at the same time, like the sense of time.
It is clear now.
So it is just only showing that
which base it has.
Which base only. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Now, the heart base, Hadayavatu, which is not the physical heart, but a material property that is to be found in dependence on the blood inside the heart, is the base for chittas, other than the 2 groups of the 5 sense chittas, no? To arise. So all other chittas based on heart base, except the Dvipancha Vijnana. So the 2 groups of the 5 sense chittas.
Because those consciousness are based on their respective sense. Eye consciousness with the eye, ear consciousness with the ear, and all the movement of the mind that is knowing those objects at the same time will be physically based on Hadayavatu.
Heart base. Now, okay, so heart base, as Bhante also introduced it a little bit, is always a controversy in the Abhidhamma study, because
still now.
Yes, because actually what is called heart base is taught by ancient teachers. They said it is heart base, but the Buddha actually in the Patana, the 7th book of the Abhidhamma, he didn't say exactly heart. He just said independence on a certain type of matter, base, then chitta, other than the two groups of the 5 sense chittas, arises. So the Buddha only said a certain type of matter. But then why the ancient teachers say that it is heart then if the Buddha didn't say so, no? So there are many arguments and many things, theories and like that. But teachers, they usually explain that heart is very much connected with the mind, no? Like in a way, like for example, when we get really, really angry, what happened to the heart? It beats much faster, no? It beats much faster. And sometimes it can even get to a point that you can get a heart attack or something if you're really angry. So that's how like consciousness, mind affect some kind of matter. So it is kind of, there is a connection. And sometimes when we are very sad, what do we say? We say that my heart is so heavy. Yes, I feel so heavy in the heart. So there is some kind of connection.
Yeah, in culturally speaking, also let's remember that some of these teachers are considered to be arahants as well. So we cannot at the same time drop it. In this case, the Buddha was not specified that there was a base for the mind, but didn't mention the heart literally in the scriptures. So that's why the controversy until now. But and anybody has their own view. But ultimately, what is important is to know that consciousness definitely in our own experience is based on some, or is at least attached to some matter. This body cannot be separated from its mind. So it is based on the, and some people say that it is the brain. Yes, when the mind is active, it is proven that some areas on the brain are being lighting up or connecting, but that doesn't mean that that is the source of mind. The mind is being connected and reacting to the body and connecting with it and expressing to others and communicating through matter. So there are some links. If it is the heart or not, we can keep it as close as the Buddha says. The mind is based on material qualities.
Certain type of material.
Because there is mind, at least in this kind of beings, human beings, because there is body, there is mind. We know there can be beings without body, but we might be experiencing another time. But at least for human beings and animals, the body moves because of the mind, and they're intimately connected. Physical and consciousness. Matter and consciousness.
Yes. So we'll continue a little bit. It's not finished with this. And so when this is kind of like how the mind and the heart, physical heart, has some kind of relation. And not only physically, sometimes also when somebody is nice, or we say that he has a good heart, he is very kind-hearted. Sometimes we say like that, no? So,
buen corazón.
Yeah, so since ancient times, so there are some kind of connection between consciousness and with the heart itself. So therefore, ancient teachers take this certain type of matter to be the heart base. So now, since it is not specified by the Buddha himself, like certain type of matter, but ancient teachers say it is a heart base. So there are always some controversy, but you can take it as you like. You can take it heart base or mind base or like that. But ancient teachers say it is heart base. So for everybody. So you know.
Yes.
So you know.
You have the information. Whenever you feel know the controversy, we all will make our point of view regarding it, because that's specifically clear in the heart. But it doesn't matter really much.
Yes,
it is based on matter.
Yes. So anyway, the ancient teachers have their reason, and so this is how it is taught in the
Maybe
Abhidhamma.
some research in the future will come and clarify it a little bit. But Yes.
Okay. So this Hadaya Watu heart base is another type of material property. Okay. Now, so let's go to another one. And another one we are coming to is called the Jivita-rupa, light faculty. So Jivita-rupa, it sounds very familiar, no? Because in chapter 2, when we studied the Cetasikas, that you have already met a Jivitindriya, life faculty, as a universal Cetasika. So in the same way, Jivitindriya, it maintains the chitta and all its associated ingredients. It maintains it alive. So this Jivita-rupa,
life faculty of the matter,
it also maintains the other rupa that is
connected or related,
associated together in the same group. No? So later we will see the group, but we just now see the ingredients, what kinds of matters are
we
there.
can think of it as the ability for matter to continue alive. That is given by this particle or aspect of matter that keeps matter alive.
Yes, well, they have some examples here. Okay, before we go there, let's okay. Jivita-rupa is actually a karma-born matter. It is created by karma. So that's why it can only appear in living beings. So there is no Jivita-rupa in material things like in the
inanimate objects
or in plants and in the whatever it may be, whatever it is not living being, there is no Jivita-rupa.
Meaning has consciousness and body.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so now for Jivitirindriya, the universal Chaitanya, an example is being given like water that sustains the lotus flower. So without water, the flower cannot
live.
bloom, cannot live. No. So Jivitindriya or Jivita-rupa is like the water that sustain the flower. So the flower is made up of other material properties as well. But without the water, this material property also cannot live. So it is like the water that sustained the flower itself.
The water is not the flower, but without the water, the flower cannot be.
But this rupa sustain other associated rupa. So in this example, like water and flower is like kind of separated, but in fact they are together. So let's say the water inside the flower that sustain it.
Yeah, that
so
would
not
be better.
the water outside,
yes.
but the water inside because they are together.
Yeah.
Okay? So sometimes people will ask, so if Jivita-rupa or Jivitindriya is sustain the others, who sustain him? No?
El huevo o la gallina.
So in that case, the answer is that he sustained himself. He's just like another example given by ancient teachers. It's like he's like the boatman. While he crossed the river himself, he brings the others as well. So everybody crossed. He himself also crossed. So Jivita
sustains itself.
So Jivita is sustaining himself as well as all the other rupas that is associated
with it.
Yes. Okay. Now, remember the lifespan of a cheetah.
¿Qué pasó con el perro?
What?
El perrito que salió.
Because they are beings, no? Living beings. So in animals, it is possible there is Jivita-rupa, and human beings there is Jivita-rupa, but in plants and in unanimated things, there is no Jivita-rupa because Jivita-rupa is a karma-born matter. It is caused by karma. So other things, there is no karma, no? So there
is no action.
Cannot contact.
Vegetation is not doing an action. Conscious action is not planting karma seeds.
Cannot be created.
Yes. Thank you.
So now, when we talked about Jivitindriya in the second chapter, so it sustained the cheetah, but as we all know, the cheetah arises and it passes away immediately. So that Jivitindriya, it arises together with that cheetah and it passes away together with that cheetah. So that means that it only sustained the lifespan of one cheetah. And then another cheetah arises, also there is Jivitindriya, because it's a universal Chetasika, no? So it sustains it when it arises and then it passes away. So in the same way, as Rupa also function in this way. So let's remind ourselves and take a look of the lifespan of cheetah. So lifespan of cheetah.
Cheetah being, just a reminder because who is here, cheetah is the unit of consciousness, the atoms of consciousness we can think about.
So it arises, Upādā moment, Titi moment
existing,
and then it dissolves, Bhanga moment.
Very quickly, billions of times per second.
So the lifespan of a cheetah, which we usually call one mind moment, is divided into 3 sub-moments. So one cheetah kana, one mind moment is divided into 3 sub-moments: arising moment, existing moment, and dissolving moment.
Upādā, Titi, and Bhanga. Yes. Upādā, Titi, Bhanga, Upādā, Titi, Bhanga, Upādā, Titi, Bhanga, Upādā, Titi, Bhanga.
So this is how mind arises and then passes away, and another mind arises, passes away, and arises, passes away. Now the difference here with Rupa is that mind only arises one at a time. So there is no like three consciousness arising together. There is nothing like that. So it's always one by one. One chitta arises, pass away, another chitta arises, pass away, another chitta arises, pass away. No? But for Rupa, there can be bunch of Rupas that arises together, and then they passes away, and then during the time also some other Rupa arise. So it is, that's why there is a whole big mass of
it is like many waves in Rupa, because you remember it stays for 17 mind moments. So if one arises here, it's still alive when the other one arose. Another one already arose. So the 16 overlap, the 17 overlaps with the 16, and the 15, the 14, the 13, and another one is coming. So boom, that's why Rupa becomes so heavy. That's why Rupa becomes so slow at the same time, because it's taking over one of itself. The waves are coming and crashing onto each other, arising, passing away, staying for some time much longer, 17 mental moments, and then passing away.
Yes, so this is how they arise, and how they arise, the time they arise, and all these things will come in later in this chapter. So it will become more clear at that time. But now at the moment, we just wanted to see in another presentation of a lifespan of chitta, it could be like curved, arising, existing, and dissolving. It's the same thing, no? So it just arises and passes away.
The frequency of mind.
Now, for matter, it also, in the same way, just like the mind, it arises, exists, and it dissolves. In the same way. But as Bhante said, it is a little bit longer. So this we have already seen in previous chapter. The arising and the passing of mind and matter in a comparison would be something like this.
Wow. Yes, just like that. You remember the example of the giant and the dwarf walking together? When the giant was giving one step, the dwarf was giving 17 steps, because you guys, the mind is like a squirrel going very fast, and the other one is going like a sloth.
Mm-hmm. So the lifespan of matter is 17 mind moments. No, this we have already seen in previous chapters. But what I wanted to say here is that Jivitindriya of the mind, it sustained one mind moment, passed away together with the mind, and another Jivitindriya arise together with the mind.
Different
ones.
Same characteristics, different unit.
So for matter as well, this Jivita-rupa, it arises together with this matter, and after 17 moments, it passes away together with this matter. And so it sustained the life only throughout the lifespan of the matter, which is 17 moments. And then in another matter, then this Jivita-rupa, if there is Jivita, let's say in the inside being, this matter, then it will again sustain only for as long as this matter exists. Is that okay? Is that clear?
Everybody okay? How is it going? Everybody okay? Todos? Bene.
Okay, yes. So this Jivita-rupa sustained is associated matters or other things that comes together and sustain them for as long as it exists.
Interesting chapter, no, my dear family? Nice, no, to start looking at the properties of matter. It's really, we will see later on when the connections start to become apparent, it becomes even more interesting.
Yes. So today I think we're going to be able to see the 18 types most important ones. So because this is coming the last one. Yes, okay. So ahara, oja, is the next group, which is also one member, and the next type of rupa, which is nutriment. And this oja and ahara, nutriment, it exists externally and internally. So externally meaning the food we eat or anything that is outside things, it also has oja. And inside ourselves, internal, there is also oja or ahara. It's also this kind of material property also associate together.
Or we can understand roughly the nutriment that we take from the external world, that means the food we eat, it stays active inside the body and it is even stored in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just think about this, my dear family. We eat food from the outside and we get nutriment. Mm-hmm. Do we really have nutriment inside?
Yes, we do.
If a lion comes and eats us,
Yes,
certainly
of
that
course.
lion will be benefited. That lion will be nurtured by our body. Definitely, we right now, from the nutriment we took from the outside, is still alive and keeping inside so much that it can be in the same way the food for somebody, some lion or carnivorous
Yes,
beast.
so nutriment, actually, this oja, later on when we see the causes of material properties, like
Yes.
how it is caused, we say the karma bond also, no? Sometimes we say karma bond and other types. So we will know at that time that nutriment can be caused by which kind of reason. So at that time it will be clear.
As we know, the
Yes.
Buddha always explained that in detail. We will see the causes of all of it.
Yes,
Don
Fernando.
Fer, please.
I just want to comment that they sound like sugar and fat
Yeah,
that we accumulate a lot.
yeah. Accumulated lipids and sugars. Yes. Maybe that will be definitely, that will have a very prominent nutritious nutriment qualities to it.
But yes, but just again, let's remember that we are looking at things in a super microscopic.
Yes, every
thing,
matter
no?
will have
Yes.
this.
So not only in the fat that there is nutriment, but in actually every single material property there is nutriment. So we have to hold like the mind. We have to see it like really, really, really tiny in that case.
Yes, but at the same way, understanding, and I agree, it will be more prominent in such kind of
Yes.
aggregates,
Yes.
like fats and
Yes.
sugars. Definitely will
Sure,
be more charged.
Yes.
Yes.
And also they do not exist alone, no? So they are always combination of different kinds of matters
Yes.
as well. Okay, so let's continue.
Everybody okay? Energy okay? Alertness? Cass has a question, please.
Does this nutriment affects our mind? For example, maybe meat can affect like the way, like the function of the cheetahs, or totally separated? Weird question, right?
Yes.
I kind of remember something that I've heard in the Goenka's retreat.
Yes.
That they mentioned that when you eat meat, when you eat something that was alive, it's
Yes.
kind of harder to get the right concentration during the meal.
There are some. We are thinking about microscopically. This is what personally makes me like think a little bit more through it, because I don't know if it's just the nutriment or the effect of many other things that might be combined onto the, for example, the meat. Which, as we know, there are some vegetables that could have the same amount of protein or energy that is stored in them, but it will not have some other elements like the adrenaline that the animal may have experienced. I will say that thing at the chemical level might have, since also chemistry changes the behavior of the mind. When you say, does that will change the mind? I will think, for example, just making a thought experiment, that if we eat meat, and that meat, because of the way the animal was killed, definitely was conscious, at some degree was conscious of it. There was some fear experience, there was some adrenaline and cortisol release. I don't know how much it stays or goes away when we cook it, and then we ingest it. Then I will say that will definitely kind of have more possibilities than the nutriment itself, because nutrition will be just to keep something alive. Then is the thinking. We will give it a deeper thought in terms of microscopic. It makes like it can be neutral. It's just nutriment. It doesn't matter from where. Whatever is accompanied with, I will say that will make more influence.
I think yes, as Bante said, maybe we cannot attribute everything into one thing, no, because also the amount of thing that the food that we take also affect. If the same food we take moderately a little bit, then probably we don't get so sleepy. But if we take a lot, or maybe then we get very like kind of sleepy. Or so I think there are a lot of things that are involved. But we will ask our teacher whether it affects.
When masters speak about the relation of what we eat and the stability of the mind, especially in Hinduism, they have a very deep theory about it with Rajasic and Tamasic kind of food. If you maybe you have seen before, or if you are interested, they have this theory of Rajasic and Tamasic, which is kinds of food that helps the mental stability and kinds of food that destroys it. From the food that destroys the mental stability, meat is included, garlic and onion, to mention some, and all the other things are kind of free. Very often what they refer is the attitude that the mind has and our instincts. It is much more instinctual to eat something so oily and fleshy as oil itself, like fast food. That's why it's so popular, because he has this meaty thing of it that the instinct comes more. I would say that all those kind of mental reactions towards the chemistry of the food we're ingesting, I would say that will have a big role into changing our mental quality.
Also, just to make clear that what Bhante just said about this is Hinduistic point of view. It is not the Buddha's teaching.
We have never heard it in Buddhism.
It is not the Buddha's teaching. And then the Buddha also, he had never ever asked anybody to become a vegetarian or become a non-vegetarian.
But
yes, he never recommend vegetarianism or non-vegetarianism. He never recommended, neither.
But the Buddha banned 10 kinds of meat. In the Vinaya, there are 10 kinds of meat that a human should not ingest. And the reasons why he gave them, they're amazing. One of the meat that humans should never ingest is human meat. One of the things, because of the mental implications that it could have and the ethical implications that may have. That's one. I would just mention two. And the other one, the Buddha, a snake also, the Buddha says that was not something, and lion. And the reason, when you read the description why the Buddha banned for a monk or a human being to eat lion, apparently lions can smell that you ate lion, and they recognize. And then they attack you.
Stays in the forest.
They attack you. So lion meat or wild cat meat was banned in the Vinaya, because apparently for the safety of the monk. So apparently these big cats can smell that you ate it, and there is some kind of represalia towards it. There are some even stories, amazing reasons. I will try to follow up with it.
Yes, I am actually going this way, and then Bhante went that way.
Okay, anyway, let's go.
So the thing is that what I was saying, that the Buddha, he never encouraged vegetarianism nor non-vegetarianism, but he always say that what is more important is the mind that is taking the food, that is about kilesa. Whether the mind is very greedy about organic vegetarian food, then the mind is polluted. It's not about the food, it's about the mind.
Or pride, because of I am such kind of whatever.
Yeah, so anyway, there is the book, there's a chapter in the one discourse actually that Sayadaw gave about the vegetarianism. So there is some points of views on the Buddhist approach about this topic. And I think I sent to you already.
Yeah, the great teacher, no? Yeah, you can
so
take
you can
everything.
take a look at that. But about coming back to past question, whether ahara affect the mind or not, and it is actually super interesting, because in chapter 7 we are going to see there are 4 kinds of ahara, and there is kabarikaro aharo. Kabarikaro aharo is actually food, so it is about the manata, kabarikaro aharo. Then there are mind ahara as
mind nutriment. Our minds also needs nutriment. Very interesting, this part, chapter 7.
Yes. So, well, anyway, just advertisement, so don't miss chapter 7. And we'll
no se pierdan el próximo capítulo a la misma hora.
Okay, so let's go on, and then we'll think a little bit more about that, and we'll
but I think we kind of cover around. Okay. Yes, everybody okay? Questions, comments? Everybody fine? We continue? Okay, my dears. Don Diegazo, tiene algo. Adelante.
I know this is off the topic, so it doesn't have to be now, but I got very interested with the information regarding the 10 types of animal that you should not eat. So I would like very much if later we could talk more in detail about that.
Yes.
About all the details that Buddha gave, explanations and stories related with that.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
We'll go back to that. I think I have it somewhere in the computer. And if not, we can ask Seadito, and then he can let us know, and then we collect it on the gas. It's noted.
With you.
Okay. Very interesting. The stories are amazing. A little bit amazing. The reasons are. There is something in the chat. Fer dice, this sutta has a lot to do with nutriment and the mental impurities. The link, thank you, Fer, is on the chat. So taking life, beating, wounding, binding, stealing, lying, deceiving, worthless knowledge, adultery. This is stench, not the eating of meat. The Buddha Kasapa. Well, thank you, Fer. There is the information.
Okay.
Let's follow up,
so
and later we explore what information we found. Thank you, Fer.
Okay.
Okay.
So, anything else?
Everybody okay?
Shall we continue?
Let's continue then.
Okay. Okay. So now let's continue. So among the 28 kind of rupas, material properties, we have already seen the 4 Mahabhuta. Then we have seen the 24, among the 24 kinds of dependent matter, Upādā Rūpa, we have seen the sensitivity group, 5 of them. We have seen the object group, and then we have seen, what happened with this projection now? Become black and white.
The gender.
The gender rupa become black and white. Anyway, okay. So the gender rupa, and then the hadaya watu, heart base. Then we have Jivitindriya, Jivita-rupa, and then we have nutriment. So now here, let's see how many of the 28 that we have already seen. Now, before we count, just a little tips. Remember that Potava, the tangible object, is actually a combination of earth, fire, and water. No? So when we count how many rupas we have already seen now, we don't have to repeat these rupas. Yes, otherwise we will double our counting. So let's count. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Yes. So now, up till now, we have seen 18 types of material properties. And this 18 is very important. So we are going to make a little break before we see the other 10 types of rupa. And we're going to talk a little bit about these 18 types. Now, these 18 types of rupas, they are called Nibbana-rupa, concretely produced matters. And what does it mean by concretely produced matter? It means that they are produced by the 4 causes. Which kind of 4 causes? The first one, karma. Second one, chitta. Udu, temperature. And ahara, nutriment. So these 18 kinds of matters are caused by either one of these, or it can, in some types of matters, it can be caused by a few kinds, but all these matters, they are caused by any of the 4 kinds of matters. 4 kinds of causes. Okay, so they are created, not created, I can't say, but they are produced because of these 4 causes. Okay? So this is what is called by Nibbana-rupa. So the other 10 kinds of rupa that we are going to see later on are not produced by these 4 causes. So later when we look at them, when we will know, because in the rupa section there are 28 kinds of rupas, no? But the other 10 types, they are not actually really
concrete rupa. It's not like rupa.
They are like the characteristic of rupas, or they are related to rupa. So they are organized. Yes, so they are organized and classified together with rupa, but they are not actually real rupa. So we will see that.
This becomes very interesting because space is one of those. Mm-hmm. So it is, according to the teaching of the Buddha, space itself is considered to be matter. It is actually, he never did it. So that with contemporary findings about dark matter and all that, there are some things that very interesting. I hope in our lifetime we will be able to solve. But the Buddha describes space as a kind of matter, like in general relativity, space is like a fabric. It's not something that it is. Space is not nothing. It's something is there, and the dark matter and all this. So the Buddha prescribed, but it is something that you cannot call it matter. It can be like the container of matter or something like this, and we will see in these non-concrete rupas, which become a little bit less tangible or easy to understand with our materialistic approach towards our experience.
Yes. So space is not caused by karma. It's not caused by mind. It's not caused by temperature. It's not caused by nutriment. But it exists because of other matters. They are the limitation of two matters. No, so when there are two kalapas, two things together, so there are space in between. So they are. It is also called the delimitation
of matter.
Delimitation
of matter.
That is space. But anyway, when we go to that section, then we will see. So these 18 matters, only these 18 types are called matters that are concretely produced by the four causes, okay? Now, also, these 18 types is also called Bhāva-rupa. Bhāva-rupa means matters that have their own characteristic, that have their intrinsic nature. For example, let's say hardness and softness in the case of earth element. So hardness and softness is the characteristic of earth element itself. It is not the characteristic of water element. It's not the characteristic of eye sensitivity. It's not the characteristic
sound.
Of sound. So every kind of these 18 types of matter, each of them have their own characteristic of their own nature, no? So that's why these 18 types are also called Bhāva-rupa. Andrea wanted to say something. I saw that maybe.
I just have a question. Could you give an example of what is produced by Chitta of those 18?
Yes. Yes. For example, actually later on in this chapter, then we will see each rupa. Each type of material property can be produced by what?
Okay.
Now, for example, eye sensitivity is only produced by karma. It cannot produce by mind. It cannot produce by temperature. It cannot produce by no. But
it is supported by them, but not produced.
Mm-hmm. But for example, fire element, when we are shy, then it becomes so red and becomes so hot. And so, or when we get angry, there is this kind of fire that is inside our body that we can feel it. Then those are created by mind.
It gets agitated. It gets inspired by. So those characteristics of matter, for example, when we are angry, heat generally tends to be more prominent. That kind of mental state changes the characteristics of the matter.
It generates new matter.
If we actually measure it with a temperature, because of our thoughts, we will have a cool, before we got angry, we will have a cool body and a hot body literally happening, and the new matters are becoming thanks to the mental reaction.
Yes, and another example, air element inside our body. If we want to move our arm, we see that already air element, the distension of movement is produced by air. So why is this hand now moving? Because I want to move it. So mind, there is an intention in the mind to move this hand. So this is called Chitta Ja Vayodhatu. So mind caused air element is being produced, and so the hand is moving.
In the side of Akusala, anxiety itself, a kind of dosa towards the future. We have anxiety about something. It is very related to Vayodhatu, to the air element. That's why people, when they are anxious, you see that the leg is moving or the hand is moving or the fingers are moving, because the mind is getting charged with this uncertainty, I don't know how to call it, and the mind inspires and creates the matters that are actually generating the movement that we see the characteristic on a person that we can clearly define as nervous or anxious.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So later on, when we come to that section about the causes, then it will be very clear what kind of matter can be produced by what.
The mind can activate these elements of matter it produces them, and then it is what we call emotions actually is the interaction between our thoughts and the physical matter that is being created based on our mental content.
Yeah,
Be it
sometimes
kusala or akusala, that will have its natural characteristics. But the process is natural process is really happening at all levels,
Yeah.
deeply.
So matter itself is not kusala or akusala, no? But depending on the mind,
Matter.
then matter are produced. Matter
Yes.
are always produced. The mind always produce some kinds of matter.
Yep.
For example, a person is very depressed and he feels so heavy.
Heavy.
Or a person is very happy and is very light.
Jumping.
So all kinds of material properties that are produced because of the chitta, and those are the ones that are caused.
One example we like is El Chavo. When he was happy, he was jumping. Yes, happiness lightens up the body, literally lightens up the density of matter.
Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll come to more details in the coming sections. Now, so let's continue with this 18, and we will close with this 18. Okay, so Bhāva-rupa, these 18 types that they are produced by the four causes, and they have their intrinsic nature. So each of them have their own characteristics. Now, another important thing of this 18 is that they are called Rupa-rupa. So when you repeat something that they are matter, so they are
real matter.
Yeah, so like what we were talking about a little while ago, like space or other characteristics of matter, which is not really matter, but the characteristic of matter, then those will come later on. So these are real matter, these 18 types. Now, these 18 types are also called Samasana Rupa, which is really important. Samasana means contemplation. So these 18 types of matters are actually objects of Vipassana meditation. So when we practice Vipassana meditation, we take mind and matter as object, no? Like we have to take a reality as object.
These characteristics.
These 18 types of matter, because they have their own characteristics, as well as they contain the universal characteristics. So they are possible for us to take them as Vipassana meditation
objects of meditation. Yes, we can contemplate them directly. This is something that it reminds me what you mentioned, Fer, 1 or 2 weeks ago, that the Buddha explained matter for this, because he could have explained more, but he gave what is necessary for us to purify the mind. That's his aim. That's why he spoke about the body.
So only these 18 types of matters among the 28 can be taken as a Vipassana meditation object. So all kinds of mind, all kinds of Chittasikas, and these 18 types of Rupa are to be taken as meditation object. The other 10 cannot be taken as Vipassana meditation object. Later on, when we introduce them, then you will understand.
Because they are more conceptual. They will be samatha. You can do jhana with space, but you cannot do Vipassana with space, because how you contemplate space? If space is according to our perception, is empty. What do I perceive? It's just a conceptual, but it does is matter. We will see later.
Yes. Okay. So in short, these 18 types is called Bhāva-rupa, which is matter that are produced by the four causes. Bhāva-rupa, they have the intrinsic nature. Rupa-rupa, they are real rupa, and they are Samasana rupa, so they are objects of Vipassana.
Yes.
So that's why these 18 types are important.
That is the important one, my dear family. The last one. This is the one that will become useful in the future.
Yes. Okay. So we have another 10 minutes, and so we can talk about, like Bhante wanted to say something, and also we wanted to see to hear from you how are you, how you are getting this information. If you have any comments, questions until now about Rupa, then so we will stop here with these 18 types, because it is not enough time to open the next section. So we will leave that for next week. Okay.
Thank you so much, Charana. Today, very nice.
Thank you,
really nice.
Okay, I'll stop sharing the screen.
Very nice.
And we'll see everybody.
Okay, my dear family. Good. We advanced quite well today. Congratulations. Thank you, Charana, so much. And Diego, I already researched. I was looking in one moment, and yes, there is a very good cast. There is a very good article about the views about vegetarianism of all the Buddhist schools. What the Zen do, what the Mahayana Tibetan people do, what Theravada do, and it is quite nice. I already put the link. It's a Wikipedia article. I was looking at briefly right now, and it is very, very thorough. So I think let's read it and then see what other comments or questions arise. And Don Diego, so to have it clear, here are the 10 kinds of meat that were banned by the Buddha. And in this article, they ascribe for the same reason, all of them. So it says, there were monastic guidelines prohibiting consumption of 10 types of meat. That of humans, elephants, horses, dogs, snakes, lions, tigers, leopards, bear, and hyenas. This is because these animals can be provoked by the smell of the flesh of their own kind, or because eating of such flesh will generate a bad reputation and view towards the Sangha and the teaching. So it doesn't go further, but I think there are some other stories backing up. I will try to look for them in the Vinaya text because that's where it comes from. But in this, please copy the link. It's quite thorough. I think we will get a lot of ideas. Even has some links for vegetarian recipes. So it's gonna be, and what kind of diet each of the sects of each of the, I don't like to call it sect, each of the branches, schools of Buddhism used to eat. So very, very interesting. Is there on the chat?
I think Guillermo has a...
Yes. Guillermo, who? Guillermo, yes. Please turn the mic.
Thank you very much. I just would like to know what is the Buddha's opinion or knowledge about genetics, the genes. Because we are influenced nowadays, we know, because our body is influenced by the ancestors throughout the genes. So I would like to know what is the Buddha's knowledge about it.
We have not like gene. It's not. It is mentioned that the characteristics are based. The mostly, as Charana mentioned right now, is karma. The behavior of our parents. It is a statement that the behavior changes our physical characteristics, and it can pass over in the same process of family. The karma of our parents cannot be transferred, but their behavior do affect us and mold us as children, and we do, thanks to our behavior, what is guided not by physical matter, because as we know, and as the Buddha clearly stated, matter does not think. It is consciousness that do the job of cognition, knowing and deciding. The intentions arise from consciousness, and that influence matter, in that case, the genes. Another thing to add is that the genetics as we know them right now, or the clonation of things, at that time, it was not happening, but still the Buddha mentioned that consciousness could theoretically connect with in different ways, as we know the different realms. Sometimes, as long as there is potentiality for a consciousness to arise, there are some things that can be related, but not directly expressed as genetics as we know them. Mostly karma is the main, like it influences matter, yes.
2 points I want to say, that the Buddha mostly talked about the karma, so our appearance or our features or characteristic of in terms of physical body
and health,
and health and all these things is because of karma. This is a karma related caused karma born matters, because firstly, from which parents we are born, this is already related to karma. Now, where we come from the past life to where we arrived, it is totally because of our
karma matches.
And also at the same time, although genes, let's say same parents and same father and same mother, so supposing they is the same, but the children that are born, they don't all look the same. They don't have the same face, they don't have the same height, they don't have the same features. That's because of their own karma, according to the Buddha's teaching, because father and mother is the same. So supposingly, if it is only because of father and mother, everybody should come out same. Also, this is also because of karma. And then now, when Bhante said that there are different kinds of how beings are born, the Buddha, he explained that the beings can be born in 4 ways. It can be womb born, can be like humans, like or whales,
Mammals,
or like
all
mammals,
mammals.
womb born. Then it can be egg born, like birds and snakes and so on. And it can be water born, like mosquitoes.
Or
And yes,
bacteria,
and bacteria,
or small organisms.
or it can be spontaneous born. So no need mother's womb. They just arise.
Like
arise,
Devas
like
and
Devas
Brahmas,
and
because it's
Brahmas
only
also.
consciousness. They don't need to have.
Not only consciousness, Rupa also they have.
Well, but talking about Brahmas specifically, if there is no matter, they don't need to wait 9 months for the matter to accomplish itself.
Some Devas are womb born as well.
In terms of Brahmas, if it is just mind, it just arrives
Yes.
spontaneously. There is another thing immediately at the speed of mind.
Yes.
So, Guillermo,
I haven't finished.
Yeah, okay.
So therefore, we have actually many years ago asked our teacher, asked Siala Okam, and we asked him, then how about those beings that are like
Petri dish.
laboratory, no?
Like
they are born
artificial insemination.
these
It can be
things,
on the
no?
lab.
So he said it is possible because they can be waterborne beings. No, that is possible. Then with the liquid there, and then if the conditions matches, then consciousness can arise in that condition. So it depends on conditions. So he said that it is possible.
Now, what humans can generate is the physical conditions for a consciousness to connect. The consciousness is coming. Where it comes from, it has nothing to do with the human that made the artificial insemination. The consciousness has the ability in the same way that there are humans in this planet right now. Because of the conditions that we live, we are here, and consciousness can connect with this kind of matter and eventually becomes a being. Now, Don Guillermazo, one thing that I still have in mind, and sometimes I make the experiment of, the Buddha definitely spoke that this process can be molded and that the information stays longer, lingers on even beyond death. So there are 2 ways for information to be passed. One of the things will be the physical one. I mean, our characteristics, our body continue being the same guy or the same girl of the whole life because of it is passing information from one appearance to the other one, millions per second. Appearance to the other one is continue to be the same. So physically is saving information and passing is the same but not the same. Same but different, as Nepali said. Same but different. So we are passing physical information, but the same happened, and it is true in more degree to the consciousness. Consciousness can be molded, information can be stored in terms of karma, and that karma also molds matter, as we have seen in all these chapters. Karma, the mental activity, previous mental activity, is definitely molding. How much does it has to do or connected with DNA? That would be very interesting to know. And I will say that we can make a comparison with the brain. We know that the mind is using the brain to think or manifest in the material level. I would say that karma, in some degree, and this is personal theory, and I would like to continue researching on this because it's very interesting. I would say that karma and DNA have some very good connections, understanding that karma is a mental phenomenon that can pass information. And definitely the Buddha didn't speak directly, but you can smell a lot of things that he was referring to. How you feel, Don Guillermazo?
I think the same, Bante. I have the same intuition.
Yeah, let's continue researching. Let's see what we can find, and mental experiment. Yeah. Okay, my dear family. Don Alex, please go ahead. And Diegazo también tiene algo.
I have a question regarding when you recommend us the documentary about the Dalai Lama, scientist.
Ah, how nice was it, eh?
Really, really nice.
Oh, I love him. I love him. I love him.
Mind-bending. And by the end, one of the scientists that they interviewed mentioned that he had a conversation with the Dalai Lama about cryogenic cells, that if consciousness arrives only at the moment of conception, what happened when you divide a cell and then another being is formed from that division? Is that another consciousness arriving right there, or?
Wait. In the same process when our cells divide, or for example with twins, what are you?
Yeah, not in a natural environment, but like from a lab perspective. Like if you divide these kind of cells, you form two different beings.
Yes, our teacher says it's possible. Our teachers have said it's possible.
When the condition is ready for a being to arise, and if there is a being,
for a consciousness,
that his karma is fit with this condition.
With that thing, bam. So cloning, it's a fact. It's a fact.
So it's not like a consciousness cannot be divided into two, let's say.
There will be another consciousness in the ready body that was developed from the other cells, whatever. Another consciousness will come. The consciousness cannot be separated or mixed. That's another question that comes to teachers. Teachers, what happens with twins? They are born in the same air, in the same container, and everything. The consciousness are different. The potential, the physical potentiality is ready. A consciousness will connect that has the same potentiality and characteristic that will match with that thing. And yes, the goats that have been created in labs, they do are fully formed beings. The only thing that humans did was assembling artificially what the womb would have done. It was done artificially externally, and the consciousness just connected. Teacher says since the beginning has been saying that it is possible. It is possible. They don't deny or say yes. That's the amazing thing. That's when you get there possible. We all take it with our taste. It generally is kind of more into the side. In my perspective, it's more to the side of yes, but they never dare to say no or yes directly. Possible. Yes. Don Diegazo, welcome.
It's somehow similar, the question. So if the necessary characteristics for consciousness to arise is to have matter assembled in a certain way that connects with the consciousness, then wouldn't that be the same with robotics? Let's say with robotics, as long as you can assemble the necessary characteristics, it could theoretically come to a point where consciousness should arrive in there because it's the matter having the requirements.
It will be nutriment and Jivita, Diegas.
And also,
as we spoke right now with this characteristic of nutriment, it is just on animate matter. And a robot, if they make a robot with biological possibly, because it will become close to the natural process of life. But if it is done, as we know robots right now with metal and things, since it is inanimate matter, I see it very unlikely.
I also want to say something concerning this, that when the conditions are met, when it is all the physical conditions are there, you still have to see that whether there is a stream of consciousness that is ready,
available.
Because that is also a super important conditions, because there could be physical conditions, but there is no beings that connect to this karma that can arise in this place. Some beings, I mean, some mothers, they try and it doesn't. They have physical conditions, it's okay, but they try and then they don't get any baby. Also, that has to do with the karma. So not only physical and
one of them
conditions. The karma of the being and of the mother and everything has to come together.
One of the trillions of possibilities. So, Don Diegazo, I think as long as they continue developing these biological robots, there might be possibilities. I think it's quite nitty, quite raw, the process for a consciousness to connect. Is that a little bit close to the direction?
Yes, that's why I say theoretically, because I know we are far from it. But because we don't know in detail what are the material requirements for a stream of consciousness to arise.
Well, they have been known already, and that being is functional, is thinking. So the process is happening. Is actually closer than the theory as if we see it. If we see it as objects becoming conscious, that is when it becomes far. But matter, to be able to connect with a stream of consciousness, it has been already proven. And if they have not done it with humans, it's because of ethics. scientific ethics, and they are still debating about it. But the possibility is, a few decades ago, the possibility is already present of cloning humans. The only thing is the ethical implications that will have, and that goes back to genetics and all that. Many of the changes that can be applied already, many of the experimentation has been held back because of we are not sure the implications, social and etc. that we have. Yes, Don Diego.
And as Charana was saying, with cloning, there has to be a correct, proper stream of consciousness to connect. But in theory, you could clone from one being, 100 beings, and maybe on some of those beings, there wouldn't be the necessary alignment with a stream of consciousness, right?
Let's have it clear. Yes, let's have it clear that we will make physical copies of the being. The consciousness, we have no control at all. Who knows from which realm they are coming, or what kind of being was before? That, I think, will be very far from trying, even imagining to control. But that we can do copies of physicality, yes, we know the code and we can reproduce it. It's actually amazing that humans can do. Yes. Then 100 copies of bodies, 100 consciousness. If they are successful, 100 different independent consciousness will come to arrive onto that physical processes. Yes. Very interesting, no? My dear family? Oh, we opened a nice chapter. Very nice. If you have a nice view of what we have gone through, imagine. I feel very happy that together we have taken this adventure. We already explored the aspects of consciousness. What are the units of consciousness? The elements of consciousness. Now looking at the body. Wait until we finish and start bringing the whole thing together to call what I call I. All, my dear family, is destined and was taught by the Buddha for us to realize anatta. This is no atta. This does not belong to us. It belongs to nature. We are just witness of this process.
Just a process.
In all this is necessary for us to destroy the wrong view that we belong to ourselves. To see that it's just nature doing its job, and nature has many possibilities without our asking. Yeah, very interesting. How is everybody? Okay, any other comment or question, my dear family? Everybody fine? Okay, my dears.
So,
this time.
So we close today, and thank you very much for also input and your interest and everything. So it has been so let's continue.
Very nice.
The other types of matters.
I will confess something. Even just with these two sessions that we have had, the view I had before about the Rupa chapter is getting better. It's getting better. Thank you very much, everybody. So may our families be well. Please take care. May all our families be healthy and with mental stability. May all beings enjoy and put effort onto balancing the mind. Thank you, my dear family. We continue in this adventure. Much more things to explore. We continue next Sunday. Yes. All the blessings, all the best wishes for everyone. Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idame punyam. Nibbanasa. Pacheyo hotu. Idame punyam. Nibbanasa. Pacheyo hotu. Idame punyam. Nibbanasa. Pacheyo hotu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Amya, 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 amya. Lo mucha baguro. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Alo chachadamya, amya, amya, amya. Lo mucha baguro. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Alo chachadamya, amya, amya, amya. Lo mucha baguro. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May our efforts take root and give plenty of fruits for our well-being and that of our families. And we share this merit of spending this time and energy cultivating ourselves for the benefit of all beings, especially those who suffer more than us. Thank you, my dear family. I love you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good week.
Good night. Sweet dreams. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Have a great week.
Los amamos.
Love you.
Los amamos, queridos.
Los amamos.
Muchas gracias. Buena semana.
Buena semana, queridos. Ahí vamos, ahí vamos. Nos vemos, Fer. Saludos a toda la familia. Bye, Marifer, todos. Nanchita.